Welcome to week number 8 of What Did Prince Do This Week? Welcome to week 8 of What Did Prince Do This Week? And I'm all here by my lonesome, but I got you in the chat. And I've been rocking out to Pop Life, all sorts of versions of Pop Life this morning, so I'm in a Pop Life mood. But unfortunately, I can't play Pop Life for you, but it is in the accompanying playlist. So definitely check it out. There are a couple versions by D'Angelo that is they're incredible. And then we also have the extended mix. Then we have the fresh pop dance mix that Sheila E. did. Pop Life is an amazing song. The Pop Life Live from Aladdin Live, and just, yeah. So I'm going to try to bring myself down because I'm pretty up right now from Pop Life. And we are going to play something we can play, which is Madhouse 8. All right, so let's get this party started. Thank you, Cassandra, for being first in the chat. ATL is always representing. Hello, my beautiful purples. Love that, Cassandra. Welcome, Dorothy. Hey, Purple family. Yeah, I'm curious about ALC. I don't remember it or familiar. Okay, another lonely Christmas. You got to check it out. That's also in the accompanying playlist. Yet I am interested in Pop Life at this time in '84. It's so incredible. Just thinking about Pop Life was recorded in '84, even though it didn't come out until around the Rolling a Day. We got April from Tampa. We got Denver in the building. Nick Felden. We got Lily Christian. Hi, Purple Party people. We have Mila, my heart. Check your Twitter DM real quick. And we have Christina. And can't stay too long, but I really love that Minneapolis in the house is in the house. So thank you so much for dropping by. And this is our opportunity for welcome, Love Sexy. Thank you for being on time today. Welcome, Vanessa. Welcome, I'm Batman. Good morning. As Morris E. Day would say. Welcome, Arlene. Greetings. Welcome, Gisela. Welcome, Ricky. Check your email, Ricky. Hello, Kim. Thank you so much for being here. As always, my number one timekeeper. And, oh, yes, I got friends. Oh, my God, I got friends. Thank you so much, C-Lee, for showing up. I so appreciate you. It means a lot. I won't be here solo. How you doing?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Look here, you almost caught me in my Morris Day do-rag and undergarments cleaning the house. I was getting ready to clean the house and watch what did Prince do this week in my do-rag and my scarlet red undergarments, and saw the email. Let me wait a minute. Hold on. Let me see. So, the do may not be doing this morning, but it ain't about my do nowhere. So, and at my age, I just need to let the do go anyway. So I'm gonna
No, we got to keep the do. We got to keep the do. But we appreciate you being here, Celie. It means so much. We really appreciate it. All right, so we got Raywin in the house. And good morning. I wear my Purple Rain shirt this week. Awesome. We have my literature brother, Blade Brown. We have Melvin Rush II. And we have Chris Bournet. Like Alex and Sherelle, I'm wishing everyone a Saturday love. That's right. Thank you so much. And we have JJ Loves Prince. Welcome. He's a little under the weather. And to be honest, I was a little under the weather, but I've just been drinking cough syrup to just like put it down, and I think I conquered it. So I'm here with you, NC Lee. So I know some of you guys are always disappointed when Michael was not here, and also I'm disappointed that Michael's not here, but the show must go on. So there you go. All right, welcome, Sister Charles. Welcome, Dr. Claw, 77. I love these purple bars. Thank you for that. And we got Shalimar from Michigan. We got Man Ray 10. We got Drea Dances. you gotta get you a 1999 shirt, way one. That's what I'm talking about. And thanks for adding this, Suzelle. Yes, thank you, JJ Loves Prince, for actually checking out the playlist in advance. Yes, there's a Susanna Melvoin interview in the playlist. Yes, we got Myron Scott, welcome. And then let's see, Christina's saying, I found the Pop Life 12-inch a record store this past Monday. Wow, 40 years later. That's incredible. And so, Christina, I want to know, did you get the U.S. version? I'm assuming it's the Fresh Dance mix, but there's also the U.K. version with the extended mix. Welcome, Oshun. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. People understand. We got C. Lee in the house. Thank you, Dr. Claw, for that. Appreciate that.
Appreciate you, brother.
We got Pupper Cat Confetti, my happy place. Aw, that means a lot. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your friend. Many, many blessings to you and your friend.
Yes.
Welcome, Tracy. It's always a pleasure having you here. And yes, we got some more C. Lee love in the house. And,
appreciate you, JJ.
And we got Hey C. Lee, Morris Day Motif.
Hey, Ms. Evans, what's happening?
We got some What's Up, Reverend C. Lee from Melvin Rush.
Brother Rush.
We got Marcus G. And let's see what Lee Christian's talking about. I have my Prince hat from the end of Purple Rain out if you want to see it. I'm prepping for my wedding this week. It's got a few Prince knots and a whole playlist for the meal called The Wedding Feast. That's so amazing. That is
happy nuptials, Brother Christian. You know, and Beyonce putting the ring on it and locking it down. And had that playlist. We had the playlist too. And somebody messed around. We had the playlist all set. And somebody in my wedding, because our wedding song was Adore. So that was our wedding song. And we actually had a quote on our invitation from Adore. So we had all the playlists. We had our dance. So our first dance was to Adore. But my cousin hit the wrong thing and played Still Away. And Monica my wife turned around and said, I ain't waiting no more now. So make sure they get the playlist right, Brother Chris.
So my wedding song, for those of you who may not have heard on a previous episode, was Madhouse 1 because that's how I roll. However, our vows were the lyrics to Adore. So those are our vows to one another, which was beautiful.
Oh, can I ask you a question since you said that?
Sure.
All right. This is a question for you, and this is a question for everybody in the chat. So in the 90s, I used to moderate and host poetry readings, right? A guy got up, and I'm going to ask y'all what I should have done. A guy actually got up at the poetry reading, brought his girl up to the stage, and said, I want to read a poem to her that I wrote just for her because I love her. And then this fool proceeded to recite the lyrics to Honest Man. And the question was, I'm asking everybody, should I have bust that fool out by telling everybody, he didn't write that. That was the lyrics to Honest Man. So I put everybody in the chat, should I have bust that dude out or not? I ain't gonna tell you what I did to the end of the show, but that's the question. So if you want to tell me what I should have done, people in the chat, that's just running jokes. So then I'll tell y'all what happened.
I say yes. Attribution is really important. So I say yes. All right. So let's get started with, and Chris Bournet says it's ironic that he chose Honest Man.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Lee Christian is saying, what a scam. JJ Loves Prince. This is definitely call him out. And I'm going to turn my mic down because I realize it's super loud. So maybe not. Maybe it's okay. Actually, that's my headphone.
No, you're good. You're not high at all.
Okay. And then let's see. Call him out. Bust him all the way out. Oh, Mila says my fiance proposed to me with Adore playing in the background. So Adore is that song. And Lee Christian says, no, I give him credit enough to just tell him privately after. Okay. That's nice, Liegh. And then we got Nick Felden says yes. And Blake Brown says yes, the foundation was based on a lie. I agree. And Lisa is saying only if he didn't credit. Yes, he wasn't very honest. I love that, Tracy. And Man Ray is saying no, Celie, let the man have his moment. And Jordan says how ironic, honest man, call him out. And let's see, Melvin Rush II saying Adore and Forever in My Life was on my wedding night consummation playlist. All right.
Yeah. All right, getting it in. All right, player.
All right, so let's get through this housekeeping with the quickness. We have a lot to talk about today. Well, first of all, what I want to talk about actually is today is the 37th anniversary of Sheila E., which is the third Sheila E. album on Paisley Park Records. And what?
Come inside the cuckoo world. Leaders have time, color leaders got bored. New guns with top teeth, leaders to kill. Who knows when maybe they will. That's really all I know. But I love Cuckoo. That is my top Sheila E. jam. If you didn't know, Cuckoo and Honey Man. Them my two Sheila E. jams. Cuckoo and Honey Man.
All right. Well, we got to give love to Cuckoo just for the video alone, because that was the introduction to Cat for me. Like seeing her in action was the Cuckoo video, and I was like, "Who is that?" She's amazing. But my song off of Sheila E. is actually Boys Club. So meet you. Boys Club. I played that last night, not knowing that today I was just called. And Boys Club is one of those songs when I'm walking down the street and it just pops up ever so often, just like Boys Club, because I love that song so much. This is a stellar record. Don't sleep on Sheila E. And the only thing I'm pissed about is that this is not a gatefold. Like, why is this not a gatefold? That's what I want to know. You got to flip it. Like, it should be a gatefold. And Bonnie Boyer is all over this album, as well as Levi is all over this album. And half of it is Prince. And actually I went to Prince Vault, all things. It's all way down there. We'll have to get there when we get there, because it's so down there. But anyway, there are songs that Prince and Sheila wrote, but then there were other songs that Sheila wrote with other people. And it's a really amazing album. So don't sleep on Sheila E. All right. And yes, great album. Yes. And Lisa saying Cuckoo and Bella St. Mark are my faves. And Christina, yay, says she bought the album when it was released.
Mm-hmm.
And Kim is saying Cuckoo is a jam for real. And my favorite Sheila E. album is the self-titled one. So is with me. Love that. Dorothy saying, I love that album cover. Haven't seen and heard in a long time. Today would be a good day to listen to Sheila E. because it is the 37th anniversary. All right. Yes, Purple Cat Confetti, you must find this vinyl. And let's move forward with housekeeping. So, Celie, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to mute yourself, because I'm hearing a little feedback when I'm talking, when you're not talking. So, if that's okay. And then, so we're going to go week to week, every day, not date to date. Everyone should be knowing by now. And follow the detailed schedule at this bit.ly link, but you can also scan the QR code. You do not need the expanded edition, but it really helps. Yeah. Oh, look at Celie got the expanded edition. Look at that. Yes. But that's what the schedule is based on. Amazing. Thank you for that, Celie. And then these will be archived. Well, today's will be archived at youtube.com/@PolishSolid. Normally also at MDean, but Michael's not with us today. Again, tears. Please subscribe, like, and help spread the word. It's not about me. It's about Prince. It's about his work ethic. It's about his legacy, all that jazz. And if you want to get in touch with me on social media, because I'm on social media less and less, I'm loving my social media less life is WDPDTW hashtag, so I can find you. And if you want to mail us anything, you can email us at WDPDTW@gmail.com, especially when we start talking about the tours, because we want you, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And this is an independent endeavor. The estate of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. All right, so this is our screenshot from Prince Vault. And what I love about Prince Vault is if you look at the track listing, you can actually see the songs that Prince was involved with. The first song, One Day I'm Gonna Make You Mine, which I actually love. I love this whole album, to be honest. It's a really solid album from top to bottom. I'm trying to look at this list really quick. There's not one song on here that I don't like. I don't remember Faded Photographs. I haven't listened to it in a while, so I have to check that out. But Wednesday Like a River is really incredible. Hold Me is one of the best songs vocally that I think Sheila ever recorded, even though Prince didn't have any involvement in it. Cuckoo is here. Pride and the Passion is amazing. Boys Club is like, again, my heart, my love. And then we got Soul Salsa, we got Honey Man, and we got Love on a Blue Train. I love that.
I got to be the victim of your weekend vows. Yes, Honey Man, that's all. Carry on.
I love
Honey Man, Honey Man.
I am so happy. I like Honey Man. And I understand why you like it, but I love that you love Honey Man.
Oh, so, yes, I do.
And I love that Vanessa is saying Love on a Blue Train, and Kyle Christian is saying Country Funk, and I'm sure you're talking about Wednesday Like a River. And Blake Brown, Faded Photographs is the rock track on the album. And Ricky saying that album was a debut of Raphael Wiggins, later to be known as Raphael Sadiq.
Thank you for that. I did not know that. I was today years old when I found that out. So thank you, brother. I knew Brother Wyatt was going to bring in the funk education.
Yeah, check your email too, Ricky. So let me check that out. So I'm looking at my liner notes, because that's what we love. Is look at here. I see Raphael Wiggins on background vocals on Cuckoo. Okay, so on Cuckoo, background vocals, Bonnie Boyer, Raphael Wiggins, Carl Wheeler, Norbert Satchel, Levi, and Howard Kenny. That's a lot of background vocals. And then let me see. And also Eric Leeds is playing saxophone on Pride and the Passion. We got to shout out Mr. Leeds. And Raphael is playing bass on Faded Photographs. And Levi is playing guitar. And Juan Escovedo, Sheila's brother, is playing percussion. And then, wow, on Hold Me, Eddie M is actually singing background vocals. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see what else we got on here. Oh, wow. So on One Day I'm Gonna Make You Mine, which is, Prince co-wrote that with Sheila, is horns by Eric Leeds and Atlanta Bliss, where it has Matt Blisson on here. And then bongos by Juan Escovedo, which is Sheila's other brother. And then let's see. We got more folks. Look at that. Welcome, Ricky. Come on.
There he is.
Hey, what's up? Look, I saw the purple signal you sent out.
Yeah, I sent the purple bat signal. Needs help. So thank you so much for seeing the purple bat signal.
No
and
problem.
Let's see. I'm trying to find any more Raphael. So on Love on a Blue Train, background vocals by Bonnie, Levi, Raphael, Norbert, Juan, Carl Wheeler, and Timothy Riley, which is one of the other Tonys.
Might be the debut of Tony on that thing.
This is really interesting.
Like 3 of the Tonys on there.
Also, the photography was by Jeff Katz. Well, Jeff Katz photography. And then the logo design is Margot Chase. And that's the same lady who did the Love Sexy, the same designer who did the Love Sexy type. And so, yeah, there's a lot on here. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting into liner notes land. So let's see. There's so much, so many comments. So Kyle Christian is saying, is anyone ever going to mention Sheila's guitar player, Steph Burns? You just did. Thank
There you
you.
go. There you go.
And we got Chris Bernay. One day I'm going to make you mine. Sounds like it could have been a vanity song with that high pitched vocal.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I hear that. And then
See that.
Maria's with me, Boys Club. And so Sheila, like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you go back to what I just showed here from Prince Vault, and again, if you go to the slideshow and you click on this image in the slideshow, it will take you directly to Prince Vault, and you get to the slideshow by going to this URL, and you scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see the slideshow, and then you click on it, so you can see that Prince produced, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 10 songs. So he basically produced half of this record. So that's what's going on here. And let me take the banner down. Let me see if anybody else. Yes, Vanessa, Paisley Park. Creative team was on fire. And Ricky is saying Steph Burns was official. All right, so let's keep it moving because we're just talking about Sheila right now. And we started off the show with Madhouse 8 with the final song from 8.
Always good to get the Madhouse love.
Yes, and I don't know why I had that there. So let's get started with week 8 of What Did Prince Do This Week. And last week we talked about Noon Rendezvous. We talked about multiple scenes for Purple Rain movie, and we talked about the basic tracking of Another Lonely Christmas. But for week 8, there are 2 songs total, and there are 4 studio visits total. All right, so this is our calendar. And welcome. Who's our guest, Ricky?
This is my daughter's cat. His name is T'Challa, as in Marvel's Black Panther T'Challa. Yes.
Yeah, very cool.
He's roaming around here, trying to get into stuff I can't let him get into.
He's a beautiful cat.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes. All right. So on Sunday, and Celia, again, if you don't mind, I think it's you. If you don't mind muting yourself, I keep hearing. Yep, I think that's better. Another Lonely Christmas, and some more work on that, and then some overdubs and some mixing. But the kicker for me is the basic tracking of Pop Life, which is crazy to think about, on Sunday, February 1984. And then on Monday, we got overdubs of Pop Life. And then on Tuesday, more work on all these different songs: Glamorous Life, Pop Life, God, Another Lonely Christmas. And then on Wednesday, I think there's a song that Wendy and Lisa recorded, which we're not going to talk a lot about because Prince wasn't involved. But then on Saturday, there is an unreleased basic tracking for a song called Traffic Jam. So we're getting to the end of February, and it's been a pretty stellar month in terms of songs. So we're going to get started with the reading, and I will start off this week for Sunday. So if everybody can go to page 270, and that's where we're going to get started. All right, hold on. Let me see how I'm going to do it this way. Okay. So Sunday, February 19th, 1984. Another Lonely Christmas, overdubs and mix, Pop Life, basic tracking, Sunset Sound, Studio 2, 2:30 p.m. to 6:15 a.m. Booked, lockout, producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer Prince, assistant engineer Peggy McCreary. So last week, actually, before I get into this, Michael Dean had brought up, and I don't know if you guys saw the video around Sunset Sound and how the homeless are sort of surrounding Sunset Sound, and some of the artists like Taylor Swift, they're vowing not to come back just because, of the area and things of that nature. And it's really fascinating. I hope that they don't have to shut down, but it is a family-owned business. So I'm curious, did you guys see that footage, or have you been following that at all?
No, but my question is, so the issue is they don't want to come back because I guess home.
It's almost like there's a lot of it's becoming like tent city, and there's
Okay.
a lot of tents around the building. Like there's actually been like news footage because they interviewed like the owner, and it was really sad. I didn't really want to look at it too much because I was getting more and more depressed by looking at the footage.
I guess it would seem to me that you would want to address the issue rather than necessarily punishing Sunset Sound.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To me, it would be an opportunity to say, hey, we have an issue with homeless citizens in this country. How about we use this as a moment because what people don't understand, which may be off tangent, you gotta tell me, what a lot of people don't know is that what tripled the homeless crisis in America is when Ronald Reagan cut the funding for medical illness and closed a lot of the facilities. That's what actually tripled. So we have to understand that our homeless crisis in America is directly related to our issues with mental illness. And so I just find it ironic that in this time we're also all about mental awareness, yet rarely does that awareness about mental health get connected to or communicate with homelessness. So I just think it's really interesting that that's people that I'm not going to go to Sunset Sound rather than, hey, what can we do? Sunset Sound is, regardless of how you may feel about Sunset Sound, some other things. I like a lot of their what they've been doing online on YouTube with promoting them, which I think needs to be done. Even though I still feel some way about what David Z said regarding Prince's early Black fans, but that's not a part of this discussion. But if it's a jewel, if it's something we're saying needs to be archived, needs to be kept up, and you also have this other issue, why not say, hey, let's give some solutions to solving homelessness as opposed to saying, I'm not going to go there. Which, by the way, Sunset Sound can't do anything about that either. This is, and I'll end on this, this is how you punish the same way inner cities. Right, you got like I'm in Jackson, Mississippi, which is a majority Black town, which also has an issue with poverty. So you punish the businesses in these areas rather than saying, how do we solve this? So all you're going to do is punish Sunset Sound and not help the issue of homelessness, which means you're going to show yourself being more elitist than I think you're really doing. I'll shut up.
Well, that was all. He said everything I was going to say.
Yeah, so just
I agree.
yeah, I agree too, but I mean it's going to be a problem. The owner, when he was interviewed, said that someone had broken in and defecated on one of the drum sets, and like it's getting to the point where part of Sunset Sound is being vandalized. So it's just it's actually a real problem. It's not a minor thing. And I saw the interview, the guy said himself, like, they might have to shut down eventually if they're not able, so I hope that's not the case.
I mean, I hope they can preserve. I mean, I hope that's not the case either, but I don't want people breaking in and defecating and tearing up stuff either.
Yeah.
So I hope they can preserve the stuff that they have, find some kind of way to preserve it. If they have to shut down because nothing's being done, then so be it,
Yeah.
But I, like Celie said, you would hope that they would bring some type of solution to like the homeless situation, because that would curb a lot of that. But
yeah.
I know, but not just for Sunset Sound's sake, but for the area's sake as well. But
yeah. Definitely. So definitely, like I've when Michael said that, I got off and I just Googled Sunset Sound on Twitter, and actually I was able to find that interview and some photos, and like I said, it was really heartbreaking. But okay, I'm gonna get back to our reading, and again, page 270. And this is a really important quote from Prince. And Prince says, "It's hard to hear this music play complete in my head and not be able to get it out. If I don't get it out, it won't exist on earth. I can't ignore what I hear in my head." I think that's a really powerful quote, probably one of the most powerful quotes we've read in this book from Prince. So thank you, Duane. All right, going to page 271. And I'm not going to read this entire thing because it's kind of long. So I'm just going to concentrate on the music. So after spending 4 hours overdubbing and mixing Another Lonely Christmas, Prince had Peggy McCreary quickly set up for a live jam session. I was pretty proud of that drum sound, McCreary fondly remembers. For the first time, I got a drum sound in about 5 minutes because he didn't give me any time. People take days or hours to get a drum sound, and I had literally one run through on Pop Life. So I had less than 10 minutes to get all the mics patched in, to get the levels, to make sure it wasn't out of phase, God forbid. And you've got to check that when the tape stops. That was Sheila playing drums on that. I think he was playing bass along with her. So we've been talking a lot about Sheila lately, and that's another reason why I really wanted to celebrate Sheila's third album today, since today is the anniversary, and Sheila is important. Prince was a little more experimental than usual with his voice. I'm skipping the quote from Sheila, so you have something to read. So I am skipping a lot in this particular section. So definitely do your reading if you haven't been reading. Prince was a little more experimental than usual with his voice, adding a slight delay on his lead vocal. I don't recall what was done to this, but it doesn't sound like a DDL, which is a digital delay line, explains Peggy Mac. So that's why I think it's tape slap. A tape slap is when you feed the signal to a tape and play it back at a different speed and add it to the track. It is mixed into the same vocal track. Prince continued looking for new sounds and new inspiration. Many felt that songs like Pop Life were shaped by the legacy of the Beatles, but in a 1985 interview with Rolling Stone magazine, Prince denied this. And we're going to skip all of that Beatles talk. All right, we're going to skip to page 272, again, give you something to read. And I'm going to go to the second paragraph on the next page. Prince and Sheila, and probably Wendy and Lisa as well, worked on Pop Life for more than 10 hours. Jill Jones was also brought in to add background vocals, but it is unclear whether her parts were recorded on this date. Today's session lasted almost 17 hours and wrapped at 6:15 the following morning. So let's read that time again. 2:30 p.m. to 6:15 a.m. That's what we call working it like a job. All right. So no formal mix was completed, and work on Pop Life was scheduled to continue during the next session. Status: in 1985, an edited version of Pop Life, 3 minutes and 42 seconds, was released on Around the World in a Day and was the album's third single. Pop Life was the first track completed for the project. Today's initial recording of Pop Life, 9 minutes and 22 seconds, was much longer than what appeared on the album and became the skeleton for Pop Life extended version, 9 minutes and 7 seconds. I want those additional like 15 seconds. I'm one of those silly people. I want those 15 seconds, which was released in New Zealand, Australia, and the United Kingdom. Multiple 12-inch mixes of Pop Life were created, including Sheila E.'s remix, Pop Life Fresh Dance Mix, 6 minutes and 16 seconds, which was released in Europe and the United States, and Kirky Jade's remix, 6 minutes and 6 seconds, in 1994. Many of these remixes added additional sound effects, such as water, found in the Authentic Sound Effects Library. Various other remixes from 1984 to 1985, including a 6-minute, 4-second version, remain unreleased. And I'm not going to read that quote from Prince. So again, that gives you something to read. So how do you guys feel about pop life in terms of the fresh dance mix? Because I actually listened to it and I forgot about Kirky J's remix. So I didn't listen to that one.
Well, the song itself is very dear to me because it was one of the first Prince bass lines that I ever learned.
Mm,
So, so it will always have a special place in my heart. But I enjoyed all the I just enjoyed the song.
yeah, the song is amazing.
So just the song itself is just, I mean, like you said, it's just amazing. And so like the remix is on I think only added to the amazingness of what was already there. I don't think I've ever heard a version of it that I wasn't impressed with. Let me say it.
Yeah,
Even the One Night Alone version live in Vegas, I thought that was a great way to open up that disc. Um, and like with the DJ scratching and Eric taking a solo and all that, I thought that was really cool too. Fresh new take on it.
yeah. I really loved Eric's solo. I yeah, that's probably one of my favorite live versions of Pop Life. Is really from that, and I think a little bit has to do with Eric Leeds, obviously. C. Lee, do you want to say anything about Pop Life?
Yeah. Trying to condense this. So one of the things that I got into like really early, like almost in real time with the release of Around the World in a Day, and it's when you're raised around, I'm a non-musician, but I was raised around musicians and vocalists, had cousins who were, and so as you two know, when you're raised around musicians and vocalists, they deconstruct songs, particularly for their parts, right? If you're in a band, right, you have to learn your part before you learn anything else, which was really interesting to me. It's probably why I never could get down with being a musician because I never understood how you guys just would learn your part, could focus on your part without thinking about those other parts simultaneously, how they didn't mess y'all up. So I was that person who couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time. But having and this is gonna sound strange, but just kind of go with me for a minute. So having a cousin who could really sing, I would say the thing that I would like people to listen to with Pop Life, the rest of the album as well, and understand sometimes when you're classifying the genre of a song, Prince was really genius at his vocal deliveries doing one thing and the music doing something else.
Mm.
So in that same Rolling Stone interview, when Prince says, Around the World in a Day is a very funky record, I think what people don't get in that, what's really funky about the record is Prince's vocal delivery on all the songs.
Mm-hmm.
He's pulling from a very authentic, and I hope folks will understand what I'm saying, because I'm making a distinction between soul and R&B. Where I see R&B as a much more kind of polished kind of thing, I see soul as a kind of Stax, right? Stax and Malaco and that kind of thing. So if you just listen to the vocal delivery of Pop Life, that delivery is a very soul authentic delivery, and then he's layering it with all these kinds of other things. And I think that that's what really gives it this kind of rich. Now, that's interesting to me because what I would like people to do is ground it into a song that doesn't get a lot of attention. The song "Do You Lie?" Because I always challenge people. Ask a soul singer just to sing the lyrics without what you have. Because if you just listen to Prince's vocal delivery on "Do You Lie," it's a very different kind of soul thing than what the music is embellishing around what Prince is doing. So the music gives "Do You Lie" this kind of whimsical quality that, of course, fits with the whole parade. But if you remove that whimsical musical quality from the song, "Do You Lie" may be one of Prince's best soul deliveries. You just don't see it because it's hit. And so Pop Life is doing that same kind of thing where Prince is once again breaking genres, right? Prince is once again saying, I'm going to make a song record or a funk record that you don't even recognize as a soul or a funk song or a soul or a funk record because I'm doing so many things musically, But you don't then understand that what's anchored. So for those of you who wonder why am I so anchored in the soul of this record, it's Prince's vocal delivery from beginning to end. And it most comes across at the opening of the tour, right? The live. When you hear Christopher Tracy's Parade, and when you know that Prince is doing a soul performance underneath all that. I'll shut up.
I love that breakdown. I think it's really important to make that distinction, especially when it comes to Around the World in a Day, because Prince got so much, not flack, but there just wasn't as much love for Around the World in a Day from critics. And it was also buried in that whole, Beatles conversation that I don't think Around the World in a Day really gets the love that it deserves. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really excited about next year, because we're definitely doing Around the World in a Day symposium, because it's a really brilliant record.
So people like comparisons, and so
Yeah.
when they like to compare something to something else, I guess to make it easier to try to digest or to try to be accepting of something instead of accepting it on its own merit. Because I couldn't understand it even when I listened to Sgt. Pepper's. I kept trying to find. I don't hear the similarities. I mean, it might have been maybe it was just the album cover art, or maybe it was just that time of period. It was the 80s. It was almost 20 years removed from Sgt. Pepper's. It was close. It just gave people something to kind of say, well, this is easy to digest because it's like this.
And you're right, Brother Wyatt. And the other problem is, I remember I used to teach when I was teaching a freshman lit class. I always tell people that the problem with teaching comparison writing is, what most people don't understand, is that comparison writing doesn't have to become persuasive writing. And what happens is, when people are comparing things, they often make the next leap to, I'm going to compare it, and now I got to say that A is better than B, or that somehow B is derivative of A. And that became the problem. It wasn't just that they were comparing the two, but then they were saying that, had this not existed, then, and I think that's where you lose a lot of the brilliant things that's happening with Around the World in a Day, that you had so many mainstream writers that wasn't just saying, well, this reminds me of the Beatles. Then it was, and this is how Prince and what he's doing is derivative of the Beatles. And that's where the problem comes in. It's one thing to compare things. It's another to say this is derivative of. And then those same mainstream journalists not bringing what you guys are bringing about all these other things that Prince is doing. And also not taking into account that what the Beatles were doing on Sgt. Pepper was derivative of a lot of soul and funk and rock stuff that they were getting from black musicians. So to stop at Sgt. Pepper is the only tell half of the story, which again becomes the problem with mainstream media. I'll stop there.
Well, I really like this. Celia, if you mind muting yourself.
I'm sorry.
What I really like this comment from Nick, Pop Life is a move away from Purple Rain, but what I find interesting is that it is recorded during Purple Rain. You know what I mean? So it's just like the Purple Rain era, and even it's actually pre-Purple Rain, because like the album isn't, in terms of, him having to release the album and go on tour. It's crazy to think about this. So it's really interesting that, we associate, well, I'll speak for myself. I associate certain songs to certain albums, but in the timeline, there's a lot of, you really can't do that. You really need to understand where in the timeline a certain song was created and the context of all the songs around it. That's my personal opinion. And Vanessa saying Around the World Days, top 5 favorite Prince albums is really strong in record, but it just doesn't get talked about. And so go ahead, Celia. I feel like you want
I think what you're saying is spot on, because you and I think Brother Dean and I, we had this kind of just a brief conversation. So we begin with, remember Dr. Fink said that whenever Prince showed up and the hair was different, he knew the sound was going to be different. And so speaking of what you just said, I often ask people, Prince has a look for every era. Here's the problem. Here's what proves what you said. What's the Around the World in a Day look?
I got you.
We know what the We know what the Purple Rain look is. We know what the parade look is. But what really is that is what are the pictures? Where are the photos that you point? That you look at a photo and go, because if those of us in the chat, those of us, if you put up a photo, we would go, oh, graffiti brief. Oh, controversy. Oh, diamonds and pearls. There are not really many photos other than the Raspberry Beret video. Because if you say the America video, I would argue that the America video was already going into Under the Cherry Moon Parade.
Yes.
So then, to your point, around the world in the day may not just have been Prince moving away from the Purple Rain era. It may have been just a logical extension of and transition into Parade and Under the Cherry Moon. But I'll let Brother Wyatt answer, because again, what is the around the world in the day look? And I don't know it. So go ahead, Brother Wyatt, because
No, I agree with you. I was just going to say, I think the eras kind of intersect, and then they intersect on the Purple Rain tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because when you look at like the movie, it's certain things you see that are like basic, like with the movie, like the pants, the coats, the clothes, and then somewhere along the tour, you get these fluffy, what do you want to call those things that Prince had on? The fluffy things. Yeah, he had the mink shoulder pieces. You get these big brooches. You get the lace headbands. You get these other looks that weren't associated with the movie, but we just for years thought it was just a part of the whole era. But that was the intersection. You get more colorful gear. You're seeing them in these oranges and these yellows and these other things. And so I think the looks just intersected while he was on tour. And so like that's why, I mean, to your point, the only official one that we have is the Raspberry Beret video, but I think the look kind of was coming out long before then. It just so happened that they just crossed while he was on the road. And then, so we get the infamous cloud suit. I think had that tour probably gone on a little longer, so we might have gotten a cloud suit at like a Purple Rain show.
That's a really good point.
At some point. So
yeah, indeed. All right, so we're going to move on. And Ricky, since you're already in the spotlight, I'm going to get you to read page 272, Monday, February 20th, 1984.
Now, I do not have the expanded version.
It's okay.
February 20th, 1984, Sunset Sound Studio 2, 5:30 p.m. 1:30 a.m. Peggy McCreary, Prince Engineer, Assistant Peggy Mac. All right. It was a lot of fun. Lisa would sit at the keyboard and knock out some notes. Sid Page. Do we know who Sid Page is, or?
I don't know I don't know who Sid Page is. Can someone out in the comments tell us who Sid Page is?
All right. We resumed work on Pop Life less than 12 hours later. As he did on several songs from Purple Rain, Prince asked Wendy and Lisa to gather local musicians to, it says, create an orchestral sound, to go with the song. During previous sessions, they created space for a string solo or a duet, but for the first time, they were looking for something larger than they'd ever attempted on a Prince song. 6 musicians were brought in: Sid Page, Marcy Dichero on violin, to Denise Buffum.
So Ricky, I'm actually going to get you to stop, because like usually it's just minor changes, but this is like totally different in the expanded edition. So I don't know.
No problem.
Duane moved it. So I'm gonna do this. Actually, we'll have Liegh, if you don't mind doing it, Liegh. Start on page 273. And just start with work resumed on.
Work resumed?
Yeah.
All right. Work resumed on Pop Lights less than 12 hours later, with Prince reviewing the track and deciding where to embellish. What they created during the prior shift was a great outline, but it didn't contain any of the flourish that would take the song to the next level. From 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m., various overdubs, including a great deal of new vocals, was recorded. Those 4.5 hours were spent filling in the middle section with additional elements. After some minor edits, the version from today's shift would be considered complete. It would be released as Pop Life Extended Version the following year. By the end of this session, or on a session soon afterwards, the track may have been edited down and possibly contain many of the elements from the release version, including the sound effects in the Throw the Bum Out, which is one of my favorite sections, by the way. And I have no idea why I love Throw the Bum Out. I just really love it. Contrary to legend, this isn't the actual recording of Prince getting booed out of the Rolling Stones concert on October 1981. The crowd sounds are actually a blend of two effects from the Authentic Sound Effects Library, Volume 4, Ballroom Brawl, and Prize Fight Large Area. Prince will not attend any sessions at Sunset Sound until the following Monday, either because he felt that he had left town or because he was involved in shooting pickup scenes required to finish the movie. Any studio work that occurred in Los Angeles over the next few days was probably done without him. A Linn drum machine was rented and recorded on this date. Bobby Z is listed as playing the drums on the song, but he didn't participate on the track.
But he did not.
Yeah, but he didn't participate on the track. There you go.
Awesome. So, if you did your reading, you know that according to Duane, Prince went back to Minneapolis after this date. So, yeah. All right, let's move on to, unless anybody has anything they'd like to say about this. Okay, Sid Page, Tanja is saying is an American violinist, and he played with Sly and the Family Stone. So at least we know who Sid Page is. Thank you, Tanja.
Oh man, Prince staying connected to his roots.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
That's wild that it's not wild, but that's like, that he would go get, like when he wanted a violin, he went to one of the guys that was part of his musical heroes, to come do that. I mean, same way he did with Claire Fisher with Shaka and them, he found people that he was influenced by and used who they used. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I love this. Liegh, I'm so sorry if you don't mind. I don't know why, but like I'm having feedback with your mic today. Normally it's not a problem, but today for some reason. So Andre is saying also Sgt. Pepper was a huge departure from what the Beatles were doing previously. It was a left turn for them, and Around the Rolling the Day was also a left turn for Prince.
Now that I can see. I can see those comparisons in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I would say I get what you're saying. The only thing for me with left turn is, for somebody like me that was a blues person, right? Temptation was the song I had always been waiting for him to make.
Yeah.
So I didn't see like Temptation as a
guitar hero song.
I think that what really makes Around the World and Day a hard left turn is that Prince refused to make Purple Rain too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what usually happens in Hollywood and the music business is you get a hit and then you beat it to death. And so when everybody else was waiting on Purple Rain too, and I often wonder, was it just Prince was smart enough, or that Prince was just moving on his own musical journey to say, once I get Purple Rain out, what's left, right? And so again, it's and I get Prince, he listened to Sgt. Pepper, and he listened to lots of other stuff as well. But you can't tell me that Temptation is born out of Sgt. Pepper. Like there's nothing about Temptation, right? And there's really nothing about Condition of the Heart that's born out of Sgt. Pepper. Like there's nothing in Condition of the Heart that's born out of Sgt. Pepper, right? Other than the flourishes. And I would argue that the one thing that Sgt. Pepper and Around the World of the Day have in common is that they are distinctly studio records. And when I say distinctly studio records,
mm-hmm.
they are when what the Beatles, and I don't know if y'all can tell me if the Beatles get enough credit for this on Sgt. Pepper. Sgt. Pepper is the record where the Beatles essentially said there's art making in studio records.
Mm.
That Sergeant Pepper is distinctly a studio record from the standpoint that the Beatles understood that there's a different type of art that could be made in the studio as opposed to the different type of art that is made when we're simply mimicking live performance. And let me say this, what I mean is that until you get to Sergeant Pepper, right? Until you get to Sergeant Pepper, just about every musical recording was attempting to capture what was happening in the live. And Sergeant Pepper becomes the line in the sand where studio recording becomes something different than trying to capture a live recording. And so that the studio album becomes a different type of performative device. And I think that's one of the very few places where Around the World in a Day and Sergeant Pepper actually parallel and meet, is that Prince is actually thinking about studio works in a way other than just capturing, say, a live performance. That's it, I'll say that.
Well, yeah, I think because they had stopped touring right before they made Sergeant Pepper's, so that was a studio output for them. I know the Beatles. I know for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Um,
so I see that. I can see that being I think a big thing for them at that time. Yeah.
And also the ladder. The ladder sounds nothing like Sergeant Pepper. I mean, so you got Temptation, the ladder, Condition of the Heart,
Tambourine.
Tambourine.
We can go on. I mean,
Yeah.
but
I think this is a really good comment from Lisa. I mean, like the song Paisley Park itself, in terms of using certain Indian instruments that the Beatles made, but that's only one song.
But and also, Paisley Park was never played live that way. And in fact, if you get to the piano and the microphone, that is my favorite rendition of Paisley Park. Because because Paisley Park becomes a boogie woogie song. Listen to the piano riff on Paisley Park. So that on the studio, and that is like Prince making a distinction. Here is something that I want to do distinctly for the studio. I want these sounds, but underneath in those vocal deliveries, what you have to follow the songs that are on the Around the World in a Day album. To follow them live, rather than following the instrumentation on the album, follow Prince's vocal delivery. And it is Prince's vocal delivery so that when we get to the live show, those things are becoming much more soulful and funky than what they are even on record, because the live performances are following Prince's vocal delivery as opposed to all the flourishes that Prince is making with a studio album, if that makes sense.
No, it actually makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to do a couple of things at the same time. And it actually goes back to your previous argument about what Prince is doing vocally versus what Prince is doing musically. So that's a really nice tie-in. All right, so let's continue with our reading. So Ricky, we're gonna try again with you. I think this might be similar, but we'll see. For Tuesday, February 21st, 1984, it basically it says Glamorous Life copy, Pop Life copy, God copied. Does that say that for you?
Yeah, it says Another Lonely Christmas copy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A Sunset Sound Studio 2, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Prince, Sheila, assistant engineer Perry Mack. All right, do you want me to read the quote from Susan Rogers?
Yes.
I have no idea who Pop Life was written about, but I know in general Prince was aware of the cocaine use in this country. That was something that he thought was absolutely ridiculous. Why would anybody spend money to put that up your nose and get high? I don't know if he was talking about anyone specific. I really can't say who he might have been inspired by. For all I know, it could have been a girlfriend or a date. Susan Rogers. A safety copy was made of Pop Life, God Instrumental, and Another Lonely Christmas, as well as Sheila E.'s album. This was the first time her album was mentioned in any studio document. The track listing is not written on the document, but probably consisted of The Glamorous Life, Oliver's House, Next Time, Wipe the Lipstick Off Your Collar, The Belle of St. Mark, Short Berry Straw Cake, Noon Rendezvous, and possibly 17 Days. It is likely that Prince was going to take the songs to Warner Brothers to give them a taste of how her album would sound, although it is unlikely any of these tracks contain Sheila's vocals at this point. Prince probably Prince I'm sorry, I said was probably not present as he didn't sign the work order and didn't often attend sessions that involved making safety copies. And
All right.
yeah.
Thank you for that. So
Mhm.
I want to go back to the slideshow. And Celie, do you mind muting yourself? I'm so sorry. And I want to talk a little bit about Pop Life. I went into, again, I told you when I came on, I've been in a Pop Life world. It's a brilliant song, as we've been talking about. And I love the cover. And I have my, Ricky would actually appreciate this. So I'm going to go full screen so you can see my Turtles $3.99 stamp that I have.
Turtles. Oh man, you got some stamps with that one too. Then I know to put in your little book when you
Yes.
want that.
So I got my
Turtles.
Turtles with my little fresh dance mix, but remixed by
Turtles records and tapes. Well, Turtles was the hub of many ticket buying, 45 12-inch albums buying. Hey, Turtles was my spot across from South DeKalb Mall. I came front.
That was mine. South DeKalb Mall. That's right. That's the one.
Turtles. Well, any Turtles really, but that was the main one because that was the closest one. But that was that was on the bus route. The 80s. Boy, I know the 86 Lithonia headed down to Little 5 Point. Yeah, buddy. I remember that route.
That's amazing. I'm going to have to, when it comes time to talk about the Purple Rain tour, I have to give out my story about that Turtles and what happened when me and my mom waited for Purple Rain tickets, which I've talked about before, but it was not cool. Yeah, so I have a lot of memories of that particular Turtles.
You and me both. I have to share my Love Sexy album buying story from that Turtles one day.
It's a lot of stories. Indeed. All right. So loving this cover, and I love the Around the World in a Day cover. Just the, and it is a gatefold as opposed to Sheila E.'s third record. And this was the image that I was always drawn to, the crying lady and the old man and the ladder, where like and I love that the ladder is in the middle and the old lady's to the left and the old man is to the right. I don't know why, but I did. So for the longest, I didn't know who this person was in this Polaroid that Doug Henders took as reference material until recently when Susanna actually on Twitter said that that's actually Wendy. And it makes a lot of sense that it is Wendy. And it, again, in the slideshow, slide deck, if you click on these images, it'll take you to this tweet by Susanna so you can see it for yourself. And then also going back here, there's a really fantastic article on Red Bull Music Academy about Around the World in a Day. And they talk a lot about Doug Henders in that article. So if you click on the photo of Wendy on this one, it'll take you to that Red Bull article, which I highly recommend that you read if you like or love Around the World in a Day like I do. And there was an auction just last year of all the Polaroids that were reference materials from Doug Henders for the Around the World in a Day album cover. And one of the other Polaroids was Susanna. So it makes total sense that it's Wendy and Susanna as reference material. And then you can also see Sheila E., who took a Polaroid for reference material, but for whatever reason, Sheila got a mustache and her hair turned red on the record cover. I would like to know why that happened. find that really interesting. And then the same with this image. If you click on it, it will take you to the auction, so you can see more of the information, because there was something else that was a part of this lot here. So you might want to check that out. And then this was in the same auction, because for those of you who are saying, like, why are we talking about Around the World in a Day so much? Doug Henders also created this illustration for the When Doves Cry video, which was this this is actually not a Polaroid, it was a print, which was auctioned off. But also, if you have the Purple Rain album, and I wanted to pull out mine, because this was like something that I looked at a lot, was basically, and you can my Purple Rain album is jacked up because I just played it so much, it's like falling apart. But this is actually my original, and I don't have my turtle stickers, but I'm sure it came from Turtles. But I looked at this a lot. And obviously it was, a variation of that in the film Purple Rain. So we tied everything back to Purple Rain, because Doug Henders basically not only did the album cover, but he also did this amazing illustration, which will forever be iconic in my personal opinion.
You're right. A student of mine hand drew that for me. I still have it. It was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's just a straight photo, not the half and half, but it was just a straight photo. Yeah, she drew that for me. It was cool.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So Zakia is asking, I wonder who were some of the males on the cover of Around the World in a Day. That's a really good question. So going back to the Polaroid, I don't know who. Does anyone know who this is? To the right up here in the corner, which I think was for the old man, because remember he was like, he has like it looks like a little gray hair or some kind of.
That's the old man pose.
Yeah, that's the old man pose, but I don't know who that is. I know this is Doug. I think this is Doug Henders himself, but I could be wrong.
Could have been his dad.
What, Prince's dad?
Could have been. I don't know.
But I think they're I don't know, Zakia, if you're asking like who were the models or who were they representing, because going back to the crying old lady, Jill has said that Prince said that was her.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and Jill was like, I have to find that somewhere. She posted on Facebook one time. I'm gonna have to and she was like, why?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I know she probably was like, why am I the old lady? Because she be the crying old lady.
Yeah, I do remember her saying that, because if you look at like what Wendy has on, it looks like almost like an old lady dress. And Jill said that she used to wear those kind of old lady dresses, and she thinks that Prince was making fun of her, which is possible because you know how Prince is with making. Yeah, so.
Wait a minute, so Jill used to wear the old lady dresses.
Yeah, Jill used to wear the old lady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and.
Yeah, that could be why. I mean, but.
Yeah.
I mean, she did go from wearing two pieces on the 1999 to the old lady dresses. I'm sure he probably got a kick out of that. He probably was like, "Yo, I tried to show you the light. You ain't you ain't getting with the program."
That is hilarious, Ricky. So I think this might be Earl Jones. So so thank you so much, Groovement 71. I really appreciate you. So since we're talking about Jill, Earl Jones was essentially Jill Jones's uncle, and Earl Jones did Prince's hair at that time. And so Earl was essentially, the Purple World's like hairstylist. So
thank you, Earl, for messing up everybody else's hair trying to do what you was doing. Appreciate it, Earl. Losing his hairline because of Earl Jones. Earl Jones has caused more brothers their hairline than old age. Appreciate it, Earl.
Yes, but we don't know that for sure, because I don't know if this. I think I also read that this was possibly Earl Jones, but I don't know that for sure. I'll have to believe it. I'm going to have to I'll reach out to Jill and see if she can confirm or deny if that's her uncle or not. And then Keith is asking, is it true Prince dyed his hair blonde during the Rolling Day era, but it fell out? That's what all reports. Yeah, that's been a story that's been told several times by different people.
Yeah, but should have left that alone.
Yeah.
Or leave it to Cisco and them.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to skip Wednesday, February 22nd, 1984. It's a song called Duncan the Kitty, but it's actually by Wendy and Lisa. And it's a Wendy and Lisa song. However, the one thing I want to read is that instead of purchasing a new reel, Take Me With You was taken off the shelf, and Wendy and Lisa began recording a new song on the same tape. So that's its affiliation with Purple Rain. It's it being recorded on the same tape. Again, it gives you something to read. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead.
Before we get to Saturday, since we were talking about pop life, I do want to say that the other thing that's noteworthy about Pop Life and about the entire album is that this is Prince really coming to his own as both a poet and narrative writer. I've argued that Love Sexy is in my top 3 for greatest concept records of all time. And when I say concept records, I mean that every song is specifically designed to support the concept of the overall record. There's a specific theme, and then every song. And so my top 3 are Stevie Wonder's Secret Life of Plants, Marvin Gaye's Here My Dear, and then Love Sexy. I would argue that Around the World in a Day would be number 4. And what would be tied for 5 for me is the Who's Tommy. And I go back and forth with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon only because that would be more emotive than specific lyric. And so I don't know where I feel. So that's we're just giving people what I mean when I say concept record. And so Pop Life, it just is great lyrical songwriting, narrative songwriting, and Around the World in a Day carries that entire, all of the songs on it carry that entire theme. It is a very holistic and seamless record with the themes. And so that's what I just wanted to say as we're discussing Pop Life is, I think a lot of time people sleep on just the lyrical prowess that's throughout that record. And not just the themes, but how Prince executes them. America is just such a very well-written song lyrically about everything that he's trying. Because what's great about both America and Pop Life is that you can address something, you can address the negative of it without necessarily throwing something away. And that's what's really great about what he does on that record, which I think Pop Life is one of those songs that really anchors it until we get to the crescendo of The Ladder and Temptation being bookends of this kind of spiritual journey. And I think that Around the World today, just to end on this, is also Prince becoming very overt about his spiritual longings, right? Prince being very overt about his spirituality in a way that he hadn't been as overt since maybe Annie Christian. That's it. I'll shut up.
Yeah, I love Chris's comment because Condition of the Heart is one of my favorite. I mean, obviously, there's so many Prince songs, but that is one of the songs that rise above a lot of the others. Condition of the Heart, because of one, it's just a beautiful song musically, but lyrically, and you guys know I don't really gravitate towards lyrics, but this was one of the songs where immediately I gravitated towards the lyrics. And this was one of those lyrics, every day is a yellow day, I'm blinded by the daisies in your yard. In fact, whenever I think of Condition of the Heart, that is actually the line that immediately comes to mind whenever I think of it. And, similarly, I think, obviously the Ballad of Dorothy Parker is like really, really, really vividly strong. And again, we've said this many times before. Prince should be in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. I have no idea why he is not in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. It just drives me bonkers. I'm hoping that that's rectified at some point. So, Celie, I hope that you will take our final reading of the day for Saturday, February 23rd, 1984, on page 277.
Traffic jam. I don't know why I think about Jimi Hendrix's Crosstown Traffic. Is that it? Crosstown Traffic when I hear traffic jam?
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right. So, Kyle Trail Home Studio, Chanhassen, Minnesota. Assume. Producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer Prince, assistant engineer Susan Rogers. Assume. Here's a quote from Jesse Johnson. It may sound funny, but there is a real vibe on that board in his home studio. Prince recorded 1999, Purple Rain, Vanity, The Time, and Apollonia's 6th album on it. Prince was absent from Sunset Sound from February 21 through 26, and it is probable that he traveled back to Minneapolis. During trips like this, it is common for Prince to continue his habit of recording whenever the urge hit him. So sessions during this period often happen at his home studio on Kiowa Trails in Chanhassen, Minnesota. Traffic Jam is a Lindrum keyboard-based instrumental, but Prince recorded alone in the studio, likely just as an excuse to get a riff he had in his head on tape. Susan Rogers explains the process from this period. Quote, Prince had reached this point with the record company where he could do whatever he wanted, which is a very rare position to be in. He didn't have to demo anything for anybody. As soon as he thought of it, he worked it out in arrangements and he could record it and it was done, end quote. Considering the quality of the songs that came out of his home studio, it is shocking how plain and inconspicuous it is. Quote, the studio itself was just a regular bedroom, end quote, recalled Jesse Johnson, who briefly lived in Prince's house and cut tracks in the studio. Quote, but whenever you walked in, Prince was recording some incredible stuff. He always worked in the middle of the night on some vampire shit, but the dude knew how to make records, end quote. Thanks to some help from Johnson, Rogers learned how to properly engineer a session with Prince.
Let's skip that. Let's skip status.
Okay, so go to status.
Mm-hmm.
All right, status. Although Traffic Jam, 4 minutes and 27 seconds, remains an unreleased instrumental, its ending was used as the synth and drum vamp at the end of When Doves Cry on the Purple Rain tour. No documentation regarding this date exists, and evidence that the song was tracked at Sunset Sounds has not been located. It was probably recorded away from Sunset Sound, Los Angeles during this week, but the exact date is speculation. It is likely that if he was in Minneapolis, he recorded other songs during this period as well.
All right. So thanks, Lee. I love this quote from Jesse. And
yeah, me too.
It's a magical board. And one of the things I'm excited about, obviously, is the upcoming symposium we're doing, because we're celebrating 4 albums. And I'm sure they're all done, like some of the songs, obviously, a lot of the songs are done on Set Sound, but some of them are with this board, particularly from the 1999 and Vanity 6 and the Time era. So I really love that quote that Duane included in here. All right. So
I think it's the same board that Prince later sold to Jesse.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm sure it is, actually. And I'm hoping, I haven't heard any rumbles of any like Purple Rain, another deluxe, but it would be great to have Traffic Jam as one of those songs. See, Lee.
So two things. One, the only thing from the Susan Rogers quote that I think is really relevant, and I'll say this, I just kind of make, and it's not, I want to be clear, it's not out of malice when I say this. I want everybody to know it's not out of malice. Some things you just kind of like, I'm good. I have kind of decided, unless I get some really, really free time, I'm not really interested in watching the documentary Greatest Night in Pop. Not because I don't think it was the greatest night in pop. I do. I just, I lived that in real time. And so from what I'm hearing from people, other than the Sheila E. revelation, there's not much that's coming out of that I didn't know about that. So that's why I'm not watching it, because I'm not watching because again, those of us who lived it in real time, all those stories that you're hearing, most of us already heard those stories. So that's the only reason I'm not watching it. However, I do think it's important because this has been said before, and I think this is something where they would have benefited having somebody else. When Susan Rogers says he always had to do his vocals alone because he needed that concentration. I think that a lot of people think that it's either Cap or Kate. I hope young folks I'm using those terms correctly because I'm old. I think that a lot of people think that it's Cap or Kate when either Prince or the Prince Camp said that one of the reasons that Prince didn't want to do Around the World in a Day because he didn't want to record in a studio full of people. And so
We Are the World.
Yeah, I'm sorry, We Are the World. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that from all the documentation, and y'all correct me, from all the documentation that we have up to whatever that date We Are the World was recorded, correct me if I'm wrong, Prince recorded all of his vocals in the studio alone. That if from what I'm hearing, Jill Jones may have been the only other person, right, to record vocals kind of like that with Prince, maybe a few other people so that I just think that it's interesting that when we hear that, that was just an excuse why he didn't want to be there. If you go to the documentation, Prince was always recording vocals by himself and doing a lot of things in the studio for a lot of different reasons. Yeah. So I think that needs to be said so that when people make these statements that, well, Prince was being a superstar, he had the big head. No, people have a process. Whether you are recording music or writing poems or building a house. And I think it's really important that you honor, even if you don't agree with somebody's process, right? Even if you don't think that, hey, the way you're doing it can be done another way. So effing what? It's still the way I do it. It's still the way somebody else does it. So, I think that again, and let me be clear. I'm also fine if Prince just didn't want to do the damn song. Like I want to be clear on that. I don't think it hurts Prince's legacy. I'm not one of those people who think that We Are the World is lame. It was a hell of a song when it came out. I was one of the people who never got tired of. I'll tell you something we used to like to do when it was on. When the song was out, if you had a group of friends, we would sit around and guess who was singing. Like we were, because just on the radio, not the video. Like, could you tell whose voice that was singing? It was a great damn song. And I was cool with him not being on it. I still loved it. But I think a lot of times when they're doing it, they're like saying, hey, Prince was just being a superstar brat. And I'm saying that it could have been that, as well as it could have been he just didn't record that damn way. Newsflash, a lot of people don't do a lot of things a certain way. I write alone. Like I'm one of those people, if you do there, you'll never see something that goes written by Celie and somebody. Simply because that's just now. If I give you something and you want to add to it, go right ahead and do that. But there's never going to be a time where I'm going to be sitting down in a room with somebody, writing a poem or writing a short story or writing a film or whatever. I just don't understand how the brain works that way. And I'm also okay with saying, and that I'm limited as an artist that way. I'm really clear with saying I'm limited, but I also understand that's kind of how some people work. That's it. I'll shut up.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because he wasn't part of the LA Machine or the Click Club of either coast. He was self-contained. So, and people may have felt that he should have gone, or I guess he could have gone, given how his stage personality was. But that's a controlled environment because you're performing off of what you created. So it's already done. It's not like you were creating spur of the moment. So, and to your point, yeah, you're right. Like there was I mean, like we didn't have it then, but say we have it now. But say we just didn't do vocals with people in the room, and people being Morris, Jesse, none of them. He didn't do vocals with none of them in the room. So, like, why would he do it with some people that he's certainly not cool with, or man, they're cool with, and say the first place, I put on the spot and say the moment, like, no, like that's not his thing. And he just wasn't a cliquish dude. So I couldn't have seen him in that group, like anyway. I mean, very rarely, dude did even real time. Just say we hear stories of him socializing with people like that. It would be, like we get stories of somebody joining him, like I think on stage or something like that, but never, yeah, we know they were just hanging out somewhere, kicking it. So it makes perfectly sense. I never thought much about it. I'm kind of like you. Like I saw the special, but I was like, if he just chose not to go, he just chose not to go. I mean, he gave him options. Said, "I'll do a guitar solo for you," and they kept trying to make him come out of his thing. And then it's kind of like we have this thing. It's the saying that my fraternity has, like, know your limitations as well as your capabilities. And so he stood as many young kids say, he stood on his business like, I'm not gonna come. I'll give you this or I'll give you that. And they kept trying to get him to do something else. He was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna do neither one of those. Here, take this song and take this video and we'll be good. And that was that. I mean, it's I'm not mad at him. And I don't think anyone is mad at him today. I don't think people were mad at him too much then. I don't think anyone's still mad today. I think it's just one of those things where people just gotta understand where he knew what he was capable of doing, and he didn't want to be, put himself in that situation where he couldn't have given his best performance. And so he did what was best for him, or best, that he knew that he could do at that time. And people have to understand that, that you don't have to appease people all the time just because.
And I also add that one thing that gets overlooked, and I give props to both Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones, because if we remember, it wasn't Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones who outed Prince for not being there and for making this. And we're talking about in real time. In real time, it was Bob Geldof. And I think that needs to be, it was from the jump. Bob Geldof had an issue with Prince from the jump, not being at the recording and not playing Live Aid. And again, I'm not saying Bob Geldof didn't have a right to. Like, we all have politics. We all, if I'm doing something and I ask, Prof Duff and Ricky, hey, can y'all come do this for me? And they say no. I mean, they have a right to say no, but I would also have a right to be a little peeved about it if I thought they were so, and so I'm not saying that Bob Geldof didn't have a right not to be peeved. I just think that it was interesting that Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones, who actually were turned down by Prince, they didn't feel a need to go public, right? They didn't feel a need to go running to the press and say, who's not here. Yeah. But that it was Bob Geldof who was, and I remember, because in real time, because it was like, I remember his words, because I remember in real time thinking, so effing what, right? Because he was like, who's not here, who's obviously missing? Prince. That's who's not here. I'm like, dude, you got all of the pop people in the world there. Yeah. What? And I just never understood the need for Bob Geldof. And again, I'm not saying this to poo-poo on Geldof as an artist or on Geldof as a person doing great work. I don't want anybody thinking that because two things can be true. I just never understood Geldof's need to make Prince not being there a big issue when literally, even when you hear Lionel Richie talk about it today, right, has no issue. Quincy Jones is actually more angry at Prince not doing bad than we are the world. If you really want to know the truth, you really want to know Quincy Jones' real issue. Quincy Jones didn't like the fact that Quincy Jones put that Tootsie Pop in his face when he made Prince go up there in America. But I never understood why they made Prince go up there anyway, because he wasn't a part of the original record. So that gets us off on a whole nother tangent. And so I'll shut up. But I just always wanted to making note that it wasn't Lionel Richie or Quincy Jones who went public about having issues with Prince not being Bob Geldof. That's it. I'll shut up. My bad.
Yeah, yeah. I do wish Prince had done like We Are the World. I have said that before, so I wish they had done Live Aid. I wish they had done
Yeah,
Live Aid.
Live Aid, yeah.
Live Aid. I do wish they would have done it just to show like the world what those of us who had gone to see, I know the live shows knew like already. Like that. That's the only reason why. So I wish he would have done that instead of waiting 2 years later, like for people to kind of say, oh, he's this great live. Like I wish at that moment that they would have capitalized on that. But I understand why they didn't. Because it's not a control. It was an environment that he didn't have a lot of control in, and so it might not have come off, I guess, the way they would have wanted to have come off. And so but that's neither here nor there now. But I do wish they would have done Live Aid though. Thought that would have been cool.
Which, by the way, I never even understood that bad press. Well, if you ain't gonna do We Are the World, just stay in your room. Why, damn it? If I ain't going one place,
I mean, what's funny is like, people act like he was the only one who was huge at the time that didn't do either one. Van Halen didn't do either one, and they were very huge at the time. There were some other people that were huge at the time that didn't do either one. So like he wasn't alone in say not doing it. He was just a hot. He was just hot as fish grease, and people was like, "Yo, like we want him," and he told them no, and it was just,
But what's crazy about all of it is that he did contribute. He contributed.
Yeah, he did.
And he also contributed a video. And Chris Burnett, I had forgotten about this. They did show the video during Live Aid, Tears in Your Eyes, and I think it's a beautiful song. And I think it was really heartfelt from Prince. I do want to point out this. Go ahead, Liegh.
And to Web Diva, y'all correct me if I'm not mistaken. Was Madonna not invited? Like because who was telling the story that somebody was with Madonna who was invited and Madonna wasn't invited? If it was Madonna one that wasn't invited or somebody else? I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, J.J. Loves Prince is saying Madonna wasn't invited, and I don't think that she was either.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, wow, that's odd. I mean, that and it's clearly people saying something about her vocals, I guess, or whatever. But yeah, that was just really interesting that they chose not to invite her, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah. So I want to point out this quote from comment from Kaleheads. Kalehead says Alan Lees has said on a Questlove interview that Quincy was pissed. Then Questlove chimed and said, "You don't say no to Quincy. You don't say no to Harry Belafonte." Just FYI. So we have to go back and listen to that Questlove interview. And I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to go on a long tangent, but I think Robert Townsend's Questlove Supreme episode that just aired is actually really brilliant.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard it was good.
And I think the reason why is because he was so specific. And like a lot of times when you ask people how they got what was their journey, they're very glib or they give these blanket statements. But Robert Townsend was very precise and he was very explicit on how he got to where he got, what his moves were. He basically gave anyone a playbook on how he did it. I thought he was very, very generous. And I just loved his rapport with Fonte. I actually wish that Fonte was doing the majority of the interview instead of Questlove, because there seemed to have been a bit more of a rapport between Fonte and Robert Townsend. But Questlove is obviously always awesome at interviewing as well. But I thought it was a really great episode. So, Liegh, did you want to say something really quickly about that?
Just that Robert Townsend is a writing and directing titan for me, going all the way back to Hollywood Shuffle, coming through the Five Heartbeats and everything. So I'm with you. That interview with Robert Townsend of the Questlove Supreme, and he also has an interview with Toure on Toure's podcast where he talks more about directing. So thank you for bringing that up. And the fact that Nicolay gets a shout out at the end of the Robert Townsend interview as well. So to brother Nicolay out there getting them shout outs in them big boy streets. So, but yeah, but I'm glad you said that if you really want to know about what it means to be a writer and a director, Robert Townsend gives very specific answers, and also what it means to be an independent.
Yes.
Because the other thread that's going through there is that Robert Townsend had to become a director and movie maker simply because Hollywood was not creating quality roles and films for Black people. And that is something that just cannot be underrepresented. So you get the technical stuff from Robert Townsend, but you also get a cultural history lesson. I'll shut up.
I want to follow on that because that was actually the most powerful part of it. And I'm someone who believes in scratching your own itch. So the reason why I did that initial roundtable for Silent Times, because no one was recognizing the 30th anniversary of one of the greatest albums of all time. And I'm just a little person, but I'm like, I don't care. I'm celebrating this album because it deserves to be celebrated. And so one of the things that I found really fascinating about hearing him talk, and also if you have been watching any of the interviews with Ava DuVernay around Origin and just how she put, like, that's her money that she put towards making that film is incredible. So sometimes you have to do for self, and you also have to create what you want to see in the world. So if you don't see it in the world, then create it. So I think Robert Townsend was really big on that. Like, he wasn't in the roles that he wanted. And he knew that, Black actors had a breath and that they could be showcased, as a breath and not as a monolith. So it was just a really amazing conversation that I think more people should hear, because when it comes to the arts, I think it's really important to kind of follow Robert Townsend's lead, follow Ava DuVernay's lead, even follow Prince's lead, because like Purple Rain, I mean, it was a struggle for them to raise that money. It wasn't just, so, and Prince was like determined to do this film. So I really love that about it. Yes, Tanja. So Ava C funded that entire project. So, I mean, if you can see Origin, I really think that you should run to the theater if you're still in a theater. And if not, whenever it's available for streaming or whatnot, please support it because it's a really powerful film. But more,
go ahead. One other thing about that. If you are somebody like me that the pandemic kind of got you off going to movies, I was raised with movies. Again, supporting art with your money is important. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, hey, I don't want to go to movies, you can purchase the movie as a stream, right? So right now, what's the Clarence, Book of Clarence, you can purchase. So if you haven't gone to the theaters to see Book of Clarence, you don't want to go to the theaters, you can still purchase it. So it's still like buying a ticket. So if you don't want to go to the movies to see Origin, fine. Purchase a stream of Origin, right? We have to vote with our dollars because other people are voting with their dollars to support crappy art. So we have to vote with our dollars to support well-crafted art. I know I'm making a subjective statement, but here's the thing, folks. If you don't go to your favorite restaurant and it closes, that's your fault. Mm-hmm. Right? You can't pass by your favorite restaurant and oh man, I really like the whatever there, but you ain't been in a year and a half and won't get mad because the restaurant closed. Well, how you think the restaurant will gonna stay open? So if you see a movie that you think is important, you ain't going to the theater, stream it, invest, vote with your money. Because if you don't vote with your money, you can't complain that people are not making the art that you want to see. I'll shut up. All
right. So we're at the end, but we still have a little bit to talk about. Not a lot, because we're almost at 2:00. So far in 1984, Prince has written 23 songs, and we have approximately 43 studio visits total. Again, what we know, which is what Anil Dash told us to say, what we know right now. And obviously, as the years go by, we learn more and more because Prince is a bottomless pit of information. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. What I got on here. All right, so these are all the songs that were tracked. Oh, the one thing I wanted to point out is if Traffic Jam, and again, Duane wasn't quite sure, but he's thinking it was probably recorded at Kiowa Trail. It's probably the first song this year with what we know that wasn't recorded at Sunset Sound. So I thought that was really interesting. All right, so for those of you who don't know, if you didn't listen to this last year, everybody and their mama should know I'm a huge James Brown freak. And James Brown Say It Loud had a 2-night documentary on A&E. Alan Leeds was involved. Questlove was interviewed. It was, I still prefer Mr. Dynamite.
Me too.
But I would love to hear you talk about it, about why. But what I loved is that it expanded, the entire, birth to death. And Mr. Dynamite didn't do that, but it was just the feel of Mr. Dynamite I felt was just much better. But I appreciate that they did this 2-night documentary on James Brown. It was basically 4 parts. So Ricky, take it away.
Yeah, I think the difference between the two, Mr. Dynamite came after we had the movie. And so, but with Mr. Dynamite, you had band members talking about their view of what James was. And you had managers and, oh man, what's the guy's name that used to say the intro for him? Danny, Mr. Dan, I forget his name.
I know who you're talking about though.
Yeah, like you had those people speaking about James Brown. With Say It Loud, it was about James Brown, but you didn't have a lot of band members. You had his kids talking about him, but it was more so about it was like all of them were about him, but this was just a different view of him, not so much him with the band or how he related to the band. Danny Ray, thank you. Not so much what the band thought about it or how he did the band. Like those little things were sprinkled in like here or there. But Say It Loud, which was good, by the way. It was just more so about him instead of how the other images of him may have been perceived or being shown or being seen. Like Mr. Dynamite was just more of I thought that of the 3, I think that is still say the better one, because like you said, it was something about the vibe of it, how like the band members talked about him and how like there were different band members from each era and how they talked about how he did certain things, and that was part of his personality too. And this was just a different view of his personality. That's it. We got to see. I know with Say It Loud. Say It Loud went more in depth into some other stuff about him than like Mr. Dynamite did, because like you said, it covered every facet from start to finish.
Yeah.
And so, especially like the last, like I think like episodes 3 or 4 were like the later years, and so it was things about that like that we didn't know that said we got to see about him after the heyday and all that type stuff. This is the post Living in America era.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And it was nice to see some of the post Living in America, in terms of like the music. But I want to, Tanja points out, and I was so excited to see Christopher Daniel, who's part of our symposium posse, and he will be presenting. I'm so excited for Erotic City 40 on Ice Cream Castle. So it was great seeing Chris there. Also, Jason King, who spoke at the last Triple Threat 40 symposium, because he's now the dean of USC. I have been asking him every single year since 2017 to participate, and he finally participated last year because he's so busy. So it was great to see both Jason, but I do prefer Mr. Dynamite, even though, again, anytime James Brown can get some love, I think he deserves it. And if this introduces him to a new audience, or remind people of who James Brown is,
Yeah.
I think is really, really important.
Yes,
So,
all the piece to the bigger puzzle.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
So
and I think this version too, like one of the main differences was in this one, they spoke more with his children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas in Mr. Dynamite, they spoke more with the sidemen and managers and stuff like that,
Yeah.
or road managers and things like that. So,
So,
I'm just gonna say somebody had a question. I think for both of y'all, Zakia had a question. That did y'all learn anything new from the Say It Loud?
oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's 4 parts, so like it's definitely something in each one that you may not have known. A
yeah.
lot of it. Okay, go ahead, D'Angelo. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for me, it was more about learning more about his personal life because I'm one of those people that I don't need to know about an artist's personal life because I focus on the music. So, to be honest, I didn't realize that he got married. I didn't realize. I only knew the one wife that was in the press a lot, and I can't remember
Hmm.
her name, like during the like the 80s and stuff. But I didn't realize that he actually got married after
After it.
her,
Hmm.
and that he had a wife before her, and then also I didn't realize that wife died from complications from cosmetic surgery, which happens a lot, it seems.
Hmm.
And I didn't know that. And you could tell that he was really, really hurt, because he said, I mean, they have footage of him saying that she was beautiful. I didn't want her to, get the plastic surgery. She didn't need it as far as I was concerned. So I can't imagine like what he must have gone through. So like the personal life aspect and like hearing from the daughters, and I think I'll like one. I'll leave it so that you guys can see it. But one of the stories that the daughter tells was really heartbreaking to me, and yeah, it was. I mean, so it was more about his personal, and I think I like Mr. Dynamite. Well, it's not more, but it was more personal. But one of the reasons why I like Mr. Dynamite is that it really focuses on the music and the band and all of that, because that's what I like to hear about.
Yeah, this the one takeaway for me from this one was I didn't realize he had a fallout within the African Americans community after he supported
Mm,
Nixon.
mhm.
That was a big thing, and his children spoke of how big the fallout was. Like I knew people were upset, but his children went more in depth as to how big the fallout was. Um, how he how he supported Nixon at that time, and then how when some promises were made that weren't kept, how he felt like betrayed by it all and all that. And so, if you know anything about that time period and music era, Nixon was the brunt of a lot of Stevie Wonder songs and a lot of Parliament Funkadelic songs. So, I guess to imagine having him being who he was to like support Nixon, that was a blow to a lot like inside the community, and so there was some backlash for that. That was like I think episode 3, I think maybe. So yeah, but it's something to everyone that you can definitely learn something from. I mean, it's definitely one of those things where if I were a music teacher in class, I'd have it as recommended viewing.
Mhm.
You
Well,
know,
kinda I'm sorry, Ricky, but, following the Robert Townsend conversation, what I liked, the most about Say It Loud was the focus on James Brown's businesses, and, they talked a lot about that, and I really wish there was just a documentary dedicated to James Brown's business because they talk about, like, his radio stations, restaurants, and, like, he was a businessman. He owned his own plane. I think they in the
hmm
documentary they said he was might have been like the first black person to own, like
hmm
whatever.
Yeah, he had like trading stamps or something where you
Yeah,
could like collect these stamps and trade them in for stuff, goods and things like that. So yeah, he was definitely ahead of his time with that one.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that just to that point, having not seen it, the reason that it happened. So I knew that it happened with James the fallout with Nixon. The problem is because Sammy Davis Jr.'s fallout was even bigger
Mm,
because
Mm.
he actually hugged Nixon. So it was like he didn't just endorse him. Right? And if you go back and look back, and like in real time, and I remember talking to my father and all about the Sam Davis. So I asked myself, was the Sam Davis thing that bought? My father was like, if he just wouldn't have damn hugged him. Like it was like, like that's was like because people kind of understood because kind of like with James, Sammy Davis Jr. had that over the top kind of Hollywood personality that could seem like a character anyway. But once Samuel hugged Nixon, people just lost their mind. And that's why the James Brown thing didn't get as much play, was because Samuel was actually on the outs even more than James Brown, which is why at the end of Samuel's life, when you have this great celebration with Gregory Hines and Eddie Murphy, and if you've never seen that Sammy Davis Jr., that Sammy actually falls out of the grace of the African American culture and community than James does over the Nixon thing, which I thought was really interesting. And so anyway, we won't get that again. But that's why James's wasn't as big, because Black people were doubly mad at
Sammy.
For whatever reason. And as you know, people get canceled for some of the craziest reasons. But I'll just say one last thing in the chat to what Zakiya said, that I agree with what she said about the Little Richard documentary. That I was really happy that they did focus on Little Richard's musical legacy. Yeah. Right? I'm glad they did.
Hold on, Liegh. So there were actually 2 Little Richard documentaries that came out last year.
Was it?
Yeah. Which one are you talking about?
The I Am Everything. Okay. The Little Richard I Am Everything.
That's Lisa Cortez. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is that the one on HBO?
Yes.
Is that the one on HBO? Okay.
Yeah. And again, it's because and again, it's not a bad thing. It was just the way that it was marketed. I was worried they weren't going to discuss music. Because the way it was marketed, it was that it was going to focus more on the LGBTQ movement and where Little Richard was in that space, which have no problem with that. I think that's an important a topic to cover. But you're also talking about the architect of rock and roll. And if you're going to invest all this money into covering the architect of rock and roll, then you have to then understand that his music. So that's the one thing that I like about the Little Richard I Am Everything, is that you understand that in Little Richard's band, James Brown, Jimi Hendrix, and I'm forgetting the other person who was in that band, that Little Richard still, for my money, hasn't been given his props for what he is to music and everything that came after him. And I'll only add to, I think that's Budding Anarchist. I'll only add that if you understand the history of American politics, you're not surprised that James Brown was a Republican, given the fact that the Republicans used to be the Democrats and the Democrats used to be the Republicans. I'll leave it there because we're not going to go down in the rabbit hole of politics. But for anybody who don't know, I'll say it again. The Republicans used to be the Democrats used to be the Republicans, and then just go and do your research on that. And then you won't be as surprised that James Brown and many Black people before James Brown were actually Republicans, and you have to get into Dixiecrats and all of that. And somebody says Billy Preston. It may have been Billy Preston, Lisa. I'm not 100% sure.
All right. So one thing I wanted to say about the I Am Everything, and Liegh, if you don't mind, my apologies, is that we talked, so Chris Bornay, we talked about I Am Everything when it came out last year. I thought it was an amazing documentary as a documentary. And what I mean by that, a lot of documentaries have a format, a lot of talking heads. And it was something about the way that the director, Lisa Cortez, because I was like, who directed this? Like, this is brilliant, just as not just taking Little Richard out of the story, but literally the way that it's constructed. is fascinating. And actually, after watching this James Brown documentary, I'm glad you asked that. I forgot that I wanted to go back and rewatch I Am Everything, because just as a documentary in terms of the format and how it's constructed, I think that I Am Everything is a superior documentary, not because of the content, but how it's put together, versus James Brown Say It Loud. But I think that, again, Mr. Dynamite is pretty incredible. And I think it's also because of what Ricky is talking about in terms of really talking to the musicians and the people who are there with James, even though there's, a bit of that in this one as well. All
Yeah,
right.
I think it's worth mentioning that when you have artists that have a career that spans decades, it's gonna be hard to get one documentary that
Yeah.
covers everything.
Yeah.
And so I hope we keep that in mind in, say, the future when we get more Prince documentaries. It's not going to be one that's going to encompass everything. So, like, we have to appreciate like what we have, and then just hope that there are others that can, provide like other viewpoints, because it's going to be hard unless a documentary is going to be about 4 or 5 hours, which they're not going to do that on film. It's going to be hard to do that because the the James Brown one was like a 4 episode thing, that Mr. Dynamite was in one setting. It's just one film, film type thing. So, but still, when you view those, say, together, you get a nice little picture of who the person was. So just moving forward as Prince fans, just keep that in mind as things come out, that, one is not going to encompass just everything, but we can ask for it to encompass enough.
Yeah.
So that the next one can build on that.
And also on a final note, just to talk about how great this platform is that Prof Dust has created. Regardless of how you feel, don't feel about a lot of things that are mentioned, there are a lot of resources that get mentioned. So go listen to all of the songs and albums that get mentioned. Right now, I can't fathom that no one has ever heard Sgt. Pepper's. Has never heard Sgt. Pepper. But if you haven't ever heard Sgt. Pepper, please go listen to it, and all these other things. If you're not, because you you have to have what I call historical connotation to understand Prince, because Prince was a musical student. And so that thing, and I just want to give you your props, Prof D, and of course, Brother Wyatt, and all the people come on, and people in the chat, that what's great about this platform is it really is a scholarly seminar on Prince and music. And so listen to all these resources and references. I rediscover stuff. I told that was some things that I had just hadn't listened to in 20 years, hearing it. So again, when we're talking about all these things, we're not talking about them to say that they're trash or they're this or they're that. What we're really doing is mentioning them. So if you haven't heard them, you can go check them out for yourself, because no matter where I may fall on something, all of it will give you better insight on who Prince was. That's the ultimate thing. I'll shut up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Celie, for making that point, because I know, like, it hasn't happened this year, but last year, a lot of times when we would make, asides, people would go like, it's not about Prince or whatever, but it is about Prince. James Brown is about Prince. Little Richard is about Prince. And so if you saw some of the outfits that Little Richard wore, they look just like some Love Sexy outfits, or like his hair, there's his Prince hair. And so, like, you'll just expand your Prince universe if you expose yourself to some of, Prince's roots. And James Brown and Little Richard are definitely Prince's roots. And then you might say, well, you might say, like, the Robert Townsend, like, what does that have to do with Prince? Prince was an entrepreneur. He believed in doing for self. He became an independent artist. Why did he put slave on his face? So, like, that is also a direct tie-in. Celie?
And Robert Townsend spoofed Prince on Partners in Crime.
He sure did. He sure did.
And Robert Townsend spoofing Prince. Because I want to say that Keenan and Robert actually did. One of them played Michael Jackson. One of them played Prince. And I think Keenan played Michael Jackson. And Robert Townsend played Prince. I'm not sure, but they spoofed them in Partners in Crime. And the line I didn't like was when the guy who looked like he was playing Billy, I couldn't tell if the guy was playing Billy or not, told Prince, and Prince, put some damn pants on and start to seeing the crack of your nail behind every time you walk out of here. So, yes, Robert Townsend was fully aware of and spoofed Prince.
All right. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up, but we have just a few more. First of all, we don't want to wrap it up too much. This is important for me, at least. This is one of my favorite Prince albums of all time, Prince The Vault, released in 1999, and it's on vinyl for the first time ever. So if you want a vinyl copy of The Vault, you really want to pick it up. And one of, there's so many great songs on here, but the song that I personally play over and over again is When the Lights Go Down. Listen to that song. It's so incredible. It's amazing. But you got She Spoke to Me. You got 5 Women. So if you don't have this, you got to have this in your collection. I want to just say that. So I am thrilled that they released that on vinyl.
Hey, can I do a reminder plug? Like, since you're doing, say, reminder plugs.
Yeah.
I know it's not a favorite of a lot of people like in the community, but February is the 25th anniversary of GCS. Okay, 2000.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, say what you want to say, but Free still cranks. The song with him, Larry and Shaka still cranks. Free. So if you didn't see the Today Show performance of that in 1998, it's up there. It's probably floating around on YouTube when they did that. But yeah, it was 25 years ago that that trifecta of Come to My House, New Power Soul, GCS, like 2000. I don't know if y'all remember that package that they had. I know that package deal where you can get them all at once, or you could wait and buy them separately. Had come out, and this was the last one. No comment. Hey, I said it. You know, may not be a popular one amongst the community, but it's still, you know, it's still a piece to the puzzle. Still a piece to the puzzle.
It shoulda, woulda, coulda on that.
Let me see. No.
Okay.
No.
I just that's one of my favorite Larry Graham, you know, post Grand Central Station. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I wanted to see if shoulda, woulda. I mean, I don't know if I like that album. I like it, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. When you mentioned that, I love. That's one of the ones that I get stuck into my head, and I play shoulda, woulda, coulda like 9 times straight, just cause.
I think that's on Shaka's album, right? I think that's on Shaka.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that may be on Shaka's.
Is it with the Larry Graham vocal or with Shaka vocal? Don't. Yeah, because the one I listened to is the Larry Graham vocal.
Oh, okay. I could be wrong then. Okay,
yeah,
I could be wrong.
It's the Larry Graham vocal. All right, so somebody said Keenan played Prince. Okay, there we go. So Robert Townsend played Mike.
All right, and JD, I got mine from Amazon. So that's where I got my Prince The Vault Old Friends for Sale. Pick it up.
I just said it took 5 women.
Yeah.
Like, oh, somebody been listening to old Delta Blues records. First time I heard that, like, somebody's getting their Robert Johnson on. Somebody's awful salty that they didn't let him play Robert Johnson in the Robert Johnson movie. Somebody's okay, Prince, 5 women. Yeah. Going through May was the slam dance, and in June. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
Is Prince drinking corn liquor? Is he drinking that?
Hey, man. So you know what? So I will say this about the old Vault album. They like promoted it like it was, you know, old tunes and all that, but you couldn't tell me it wasn't the freshest thing that summer of '99 when it came out. And then we got Rave like 4 or 5 months later. And like that November, so yeah, like that was a good run right there. Cause She Spoke to Me is on there.
Yeah.
No, Extraordinary on there. Is Extraordinary on there?
Extraordinary's on there. Yeah.
It's the last song. Yeah. So the rest of my life.
She Spoke to Me. Yeah.
It's about that walk. She Spoke to Me. 5 Women is on side 1. Side 2, When the Lights Go Down. I love that song. My Little Pill, There Is Lonely. Old Friends for Sale. I was disappointed that Old Friends for Sale wasn't the version that I had.
Actually, say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
Old Friends for Sale?
Yes, say it again.
Was not the version.
There you go. There you go. They won't get that on wax. Won't get that on wax.
Yeah, it was
I
not
was
the
really
version.
upset about that, but now you go ahead on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so you're not alone. Yeah, so you're not alone in that one. Like, if you came up with the Lost Two Friends of Mine in the snow version, then you weren't ready for that. But you was kind of like, man, it was kind of like getting a bag of cold fries. Like, man, what? 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 It's like, oh, but it's still, hey.
I can clean up the lyrics now. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's just not cool. Like
Thank you for that, Liegh, because I mean, obviously this record is old, 1999, a long time ago. But when I first got this, I was so disappointed. I mean, it broke my heart. I was like, yay, I'm so excited. I'm going to get it. I was like,
you heard it. You bag of cold fries. It's like a bag of cold fries and a drive-through closed as soon as you went through there.
So were you more disappointed than I was? Because my moment, I was disappointed in that. My other big cola bag fries moment was you get Cristobal. Now, maybe because I was on somebody waiting on this song. You get Cristobal, and I had my bootleg, so I knew what Honest Man sounded like.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, we going to get us some Honest Man. And I get the Honest Man that damn Cristobal.
Bag of cold fries.
What in the hell what the hell?
Bag of cold fries.
Where is my song? What is going?
A bag of cold fries.
When I could have found him, I'd have shook Prince like you shake a baby. No, you can't shake babies no more. Don't shake babies. No, by the way, don't shake babies. Can't shake babies no more. That's called abuse now. Can't shake babies. But I just shook Prince little ass. Now that your grandma shaking, let his ass vibrate. I was so damn upset. Okay, all right, that's it.
Yeah, buddy.
God. Oh, you don't even want to start about Cristobal. Oh, okay. We're gonna keep it moving because we'll be here for another 2 hours just talking about Cristobal. Okay, so I'm super excited that I'm going to be speaking at PopCon, not because I'm speaking, but because Wendy and Lisa and George Clinton are going to be there. So I'm so excited. So if you're in LA and you want to see Wendy and Lisa, George Clinton speak, I think they're just speaking. It's a free conference in LA. And then if you want to hear me speak, that would be awesome, but you don't have to come hear me speak. But we have a couple of other people that will be speaking that you should know. Rhonda Nicole, who participates in a lot of the symposia that I organize. She's also going to be speaking, and then on a different panel. And then Kirsty Fairclough, who is the originator of all the Prince conferences, will also be speaking as well. So it's going to be in a couple of weeks, March 7th and 9th. And I just found out about Wendy and Lisa, so I'm super psyched. It is not going to be live stream. It's just going to be live, unfortunately. And
hey, congrats to you, D'Angelo.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much because I've because Liegh knows. We'll just leave it there. So it's actually a pretty big deal. So I'm grateful. All right, and then everyone should know celebrations coming June 2024. And then I'm super excited about Erotic City 40 that's coming up in person and will also be live streamed April 12th through 14th. And then the one I'm really waiting for, though, is the Come Dirty Virtual Symposium. Me and Darlene Nisi, also known as Kanisa. We are waiting for August 10th through 11th. I'm really excited about that.
All right now.
And we're going to have some more after salons.
Let it go.
This is the playlist of the week, and I'm going to add some more songs actually from the vault. I got to add When the Lights Go Down and 5 Women, and we've been talking about that a lot. And it's something else we talked about that I need to put in here, but I have to remember. And next week, we will be week 9 of What Did Prince Do This Week? We will be reading pages 278 to 288, 10 pages. So make sure you catch up on your reading. Oh, I knew I was going to forget something. Thank you so much. I knew I was going to forget something. Sakia, thank you for reminding me. Sunny T and Michael Bland are having a concert in Minneapolis in April. So, yes. All right. And we're going to end on this. I love this. Why isn't the Black Album on iTunes? I think that's a great way.
Well, well,
I wasn't aware of that. Oh, so the website for the erotic center, wait, it's actually in progress, but it will be here. eroticcity.polishedsolid.com is where you can actually register. So if you go there, there's a registration link, and then I also actually have a schedule at a glance, so you can see what's going on for the 3 days. But we're going to be populating the profiles hopefully over the next week or so, or closer to the event, and we'll have abstracts for the presentations and whatnot. Thank you so much, Chris, for asking. I really appreciate it. And it will be, again, live stream, but in person is really special if you can make it, if you're in the tri-state area. All right, so usually I have Michael Dean take us out. So I'm going to have C. Liegh take us out. How you want to take us home?
So 2 quick things. Man Ray asked about the Miko Weaver up-tempo cover, Purple Rain. I'm sure everybody's heard it. Well, I'll say it's very Miko Weaver. So if you haven't heard, it's very Miko Weaver. And toward the end, particularly, you'll recognize just his fingering. So he fingers. If you don't go there expecting to hear a Purple Rain that you're familiar with or that you will like, or you'll be bummed out. That cover is very Miko Weaver. And well, I'll say to Drea Dancers, because she came back and wanted to know, did I let Homeboy make it? About using Honest Man and lying to everybody. Like that was his poem and not Prince. I was going to bust him out. But my wife, Monica, said, if you destroy that woman's fantasy, I'm going to punch you in your throat. So that is the only reason. That's the only reason I let Homeboy make it. Because my wife was thinking more about the woman. And the moment it was for the woman than my Prince scholarship, so I let him make it. And
boy,
so that's why I let him make it and lie to that woman that he had wrote Honest Man. And
hey,
so
look, I tell you what,
go ahead.
Liegh, if she had seen Under the Cherry Moon since that time, trust me, nothing you could have said would have been more devastating than that.
And so I'll say I want to thank, as we always do, thank Prof. Duff, thank Brother Wyatt, but I want to thank all of you who show up in the chat every Saturday. As our brother Arthur says, the chat is its own symposium. The chat is its own thing. And trust me, I get just as much information from you guys in the chat when y'all mention songs, when y'all mention movies. Look, when y'all have different positions, because I can't tell y'all how many times y'all have put something in the chat and I go, hey, I never thought about it that way. So we always want to thank Prof. Duff, but and so on that, we'll say, do like my man Sanique did when we were talking about documentaries. We need all of our voices. Do not let people change Prince's legacy with stuff y'all know is not out there. So remember, you are part of remembering and maintaining Prince's legacy. Be active in remembering and maintaining Prince's legacy. And with that, I'll shut up.
All right. Peace and be well, as Ricky said.
It's been real. Y'all have a good one.